Tesla has a semi for truckers. Probably could have worded that a little better. Welcome, everybody. This is the Friday live version. Unless, of course, you're catching it Saturday on the main channel on My Tesla Weekend. It's whichever version you see on the screen. Apologize for the flickering. I had it fixed in all my pre-show tests, and now it is, of course, back to haunt me. I will change my configuration before tomorrow when we do a live stream with James Stevenson and Tim from Oracle Investments. Very fun stuff. And thanks to my patrons, all of you who keep the channel running and all that good stuff. Before we get started, what are some electric semi-myths you've heard? Because I'd like to tackle them all at the end. Get them in now. So yeah, the big news, don't know if you heard, Tesla, the future of semi-trucking. Elon has announced December 1st is the official delivery date. And by official, and by delivery, and by date, we mean Pepsi is going to take possession legally of the ones that they've already had, it seems, with a confirmed 500 miles of range. So that's pretty good. Let's try closing windows and see if that helps. So yeah, Pepsi will take delivery. 500 miles of range, Class 8 truck, fun to drive. Now, mind you, this was supposed to enter production in 2019. So we're a little late. Yes, CNBC, thank you. That's what I wish to do, is tweet the number 2019. Very, very clever. Timeline has slipped a number of times. So we do have some things that we know, and we have some things we don't know. The truck is expected to cost $180. No, that's not correct. That's what we used to know. So we know the date, December 1st. We know the range, 500 miles. We know the customer, Pepsi. But what we don't know is the actual price. Because $180, going to tell you right now, that's not going to happen. We don't know the weight. Hopefully not insane. We don't know which factory. Oh, it's going to be Nevada. It's the only place. It's where they've been building them, and it's the only space they have available right now for it. We don't know which batteries, which I would say is going to be the 2170s to launch and 4680s as they become available, but I could be wrong on that. And then the question I've seen asked a number of times without an answer is, will it have the autonomy suite? And I'm going to tell you the answer is yes. Yes, because if for no other reason than they want the data and the ability to convert them into more autonomous versions of themselves as soon as possible. So that's all great. But you know, they're not first to market. That would be Nikola. Nikola has already sold, 50, 70 units as of Q2. We don't know the number for Q3 yet. We'll find out, I assume, later this month. And, they're getting out on the road. Range of 350, not too bad. Charge time of 200 minutes, which is a little bit misleading because you don't go from 0 to 100, you go from 10 to 80 or something like that. So let's look. Yeah, they're still projecting 300 to 500 this year. And the bottom line is they will sell everyone they make. They've already sold all that they have made and more, with more reservations waiting to be filled. That's fine. So let's look at the competition. Because the question is, if this Tesla Semi comes out, is it going to crush the competition? And it depends who the competition is. Expected delivery, 2023. Even though we're going to see some deliveries in December, I think 2023 is still fair for everyone who isn't Pepsi. Charge time, to be determined. Elon has said 30 minutes to get from 20 to 80%. We shall see. That would require a tremendously large charging system, which they have. A 1.5 megawatt charging system, maybe it's enough. So then you've got the eCascadia from Freightliner. 250 miles of range, not too bad. 80% in as low as an hour and a half. I don't know, fine. Going to Walmart. The Volvo, 275 miles, good. And these are serious, quality, real companies. And then you've got the Kenworth and Peterbilt, 150 miles of range. Well, there are applications where these work, running around town, I guess. But that's a short range. That's a short range, but it allowed them to move quickly, I suppose. Then we've got BYD with its range of 167. Depending on how it performs, it'll sell fine. Currently in operation. And the Tre, which is expected delivery, they've been delivered. Charge time 10 to 80, there it is, 2 hours. Again, these are not for everyone. If you're a trucking company, you know your routes, you know what you need, and you know if this works or not. Fuel is very expensive. The maintenance on a diesel truck is very expensive. These are real obstacles. But if for some reason this really is a 500-mile range and it's cost competitive, the use cases are more. You'll get more use cases out of it. It's interesting. This could be 500 miles of Tesla range, where it's actually 300 miles, or it could be 500 miles. Now, a lot of people have said, "Well, what about when you're really loaded down? You lose a lot of range," and that's not actually true. It's mostly the wind resistance that does that to you. That's what you need to look out for. So, yeah. The cost. We kind of need to talk about that. So, Nikola Tre approved for up to $185,000 per truck in New York. And there's a similar incentive in California that's $120,000. So when we're talking about the price, especially Tesla, it's the biggest unknown. They're not going to be under $185,000 if the incentives are $180,000. You're not going to sell it for less than the incentives. Otherwise, every single truck would go to New York and they would all be free. Even at $120,000, if they were really $180,000, $60,000 for a truck, you would sell them faster than you could build them, no matter how many you could build, until the pool of incentive money is gone, and it would disappear real quick. And there's also the federal incentive. What is that? $40,000 for a truck? $60,000? I don't have that in front of me now. I should have grabbed that. But all those things will make these more affordable. So let's look at the eCascadia. What's it going to cost? I'm here to tell you. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be double or triple. I think I've got that over here. The Class 8 Freightliner eCascadia will go into production in late 22. While the diesel-powered sells around $139, electric big rigs, depending, can cost 2 or 3 times as much. And Auto Week knows what they're talking about. I think in the Nikola we saw something. Was it in this one? Oh, no, it was Freight Waves. It might have been over here. Yeah, they said it'll cost around $300,000 based on their revenue projections. And I did ask our resident expert in the comments before the show what prices he had heard, and it seems like I had trouble finding. I found numbers all over the place, all different. It goes through the dealer network. Nikolas are sold through a dealer network, and they charge what they charge. He found sellers in New York who were charging $470,000, and that's just them taking advantage of buyers who can get that $180,000 discount, which is terrible. But it's business, I guess. That's how we do it. So they're going to be expensive, and if everyone else is selling for $300,000, $400,000, it doesn't make sense for Tesla to sell for $180,000, which is pretty lousy for their early adopters. I hope there are some customers who do get the price that they reserved at, because, come on. So, let's talk about the bones of contention. The big brains on Twitter. Woke Zombie. What's the battery weigh? 50,000 pounds? What type of range does it get under full load? 100 miles? To which Ailing for Ale says, the real question is how much is it to replace the battery when it goes kaput or has an issue not covered under warranty? That would be my worry. To which I said, well, the real question is how much is it to replace the diesel motor when it goes kaput or has an issue not covered under warranty? That would be my worry. FYI, it's 20 to 40 grand to rebuild a diesel motor. And I did have people respond to me saying, it can be quite a bit more than that. Crypto Daddy says you usually get well over 1 million miles before you have to worry about a rebuild. Well, that's good. That's good. It's not true, but it's good. I didn't find any. I did quite a bit of research, and the longest I could find was about 800,000 miles, which is still good. If only they could make a 1 million mile battery. It sounds familiar. I feel like I've heard that somewhere before. EVs are simple. They're easy to maintain. All of that works. The comments get dumb. But let's talk about just oil changes in a semi, which can cost anywhere from $200 to $425. A good estimate is $300. And you should be doing that every 10,000 to 20,000 miles. It says do not go past 25,000. And if you're saying you exceptional maintenance, 1 million miles, you're doing it every 10,000 miles. That's $30,000 just in oil changes. 30 grand in oil changes. But the Twitter brilliance doesn't stop there, because they let anyone make an account, and boy does it show. Here's why you're talking BS. She's referring to me directly. The motor is not replaced after X hours, it's replaced after X miles. Because I said, well, overhauls, 6,000 miles they recommend serious engine maintenance. 6,000 hours, which I said, 40 hours a week, that's 3 years. And she said, well, it's usually around 200,000 miles for a motor replacement if it's well maintained, and my German-made truck can go 500,000 with regular maintenance. Again, regular maintenance. So there is an advantage to not driving, but just idling, but just barely. If the motor's running, the motor's running. It's wearing down, sitting still. So you have to deal with these things. And again, regular maintenance. Electric motors do break. Bearings need replacement. Then again, and I assure you, this is how clever the Twitter sphere is, then again, a gas tank does not need replacement. You're comparing the gas tank to the battery? So, for those who don't know, you should be comparing the motor, the engine, to the battery. There is no equivalent to the transmission, to the transaxle, to the drive shaft, all that. But the battery is the powerhouse of the electric vehicle. Replacing an electric motor is very easy. It's probably, on a semi, it'll probably be an hour or two of labor and a part that's a few $1,000s. Very easy, very quick. And it's got 3 motors, and it doesn't need all 3 to run. Batteries need to be replaced every 2 to 10 years, depending on how much you respect the charge cycle. Okay, well that's straight crazy talk is what that is. 2 to 10 years. I said electric motors are not prone to failure. They're exceptionally simple, and your understanding of battery degradation is woefully out of date and sounds like it's based mostly on the Nissan Leaf. So, even more important than taking good care of your battery in terms of your charging habits is thermal management, which the Nissan Leaf, first generation, famously did not have. The batteries would get very, very cold and very, very hot because they were air-cooled. And it led to exceptional degradation, 10, 20% in the first 3-4 years. That's not good. And these were low-mileage cars because you only had 100 miles of range. Nobody's road tripping in one. So let's look at that. This is for the Model S and X, the mileage versus remaining battery capacity. So let's look at 150,000 kilometers, which is 93,000 miles. You've still got almost 93% of your battery. That's pretty good, a little over 93. But this starts with 85%. So let's look at it flattened. This is what it actually looks like. It's what it actually looks like. That's how much battery you have left after even 250,000 miles. Just about, or 250,000 kilometers, just about all of it. You've got battery life. You got battery life for days. In the Semi, battery life, if lithium-based batteries barely doubled in the last 10 years. See, originally she'd said, there's been no improvement. And I said, no, there's been chemistry, manufacturing improvements, which have led to steep declines in cost, improvements in power density, and, well, if it's barely doubled in the last 10 years, barely doubling is really good. The lithium technology is facing a huge wall where barely an improvement has been made since 2020. Show me a peer-reviewed article/paper that I'm wrong. Happy to help. Now, I didn't give an article because those people always say, oh, well, I don't like that source. And I didn't give a video because I wouldn't watch a video and I wouldn't expect a stranger to either. I linked to the 4 million mile battery is now reality. And this is real. This is Jeff Dahn, a team of researchers led by Professor Jeff Dahn. Does that name sound familiar out there? It should. He's the Tesla Canada chair. He runs a research department at a university where they do nothing but work on battery technology. Did you know the 4 million mile battery is here? Because it is. Could work 20 years in stationary storage. Or 4 million miles of driving. That's a lot of cycle life. Interestingly, she did get pretty quiet after that. Like completely silent after that. Because this is the real deal. This isn't theoretical. This is the research group that has led to the breakthroughs and innovations that Tesla is enjoying today. This is real. I do want to thank my patrons who get early access, bonus content, and ad-free experience in many cases, and help keep the channel running. You know, I can't do it without you guys. It's a small investment, and I thank you guys for making it. And because I was so unavailable during the pre-show, I was asked for proof. And this is us at the pumpkin patch today. And if you're following me on Twitter, you've already seen this. So let's get into that Q&A and see what questions you got. Because we've got a good amount of time left. How long does it take to swap out a diesel engine versus a motor in a Tesla Semi? 1/5 the labor cost? Swapping out, oh gosh. Well, you know where the electric motor will be. It'll be on the rear axles, I assume. I think the third one might be on the front axles, but the access is very easy. It'll be pretty quick and easy to do, I assume. But you're right. Getting the engine out of a diesel big rig is surgery. Yeah, thank you, Digital Blade. Yeah, they're pretty cute. I keep them around. I was going to say I'll put B-roll over this, but this part doesn't go into the condensed show. Maybe she didn't get quiet. Maybe she got back behind the wheel of her zillion-mile truck. I believe she is a trucker. I believe she did say in another comment, another post, that she is a trucker. So, yeah, maybe. But why the hate? What I was saying is either it works or it doesn't. Either it makes financial sense or it doesn't. Especially with a refrigerated truck. Do you really want to keep a diesel motor running a compressor all day when you can just plug it in? That's very inefficient. You'll burn $50 a day in diesel, where you could spend $10 to $20 a day in electricity. Maybe your company has an extra $10,000 a year to throw in the trash. I don't know. Electricity is 7 cents a kilowatt hour in Louisiana. It is impossible for diesel to compete with that. And GreenPad, it is comparable to that price in much of the Northwest. It's just the big states, California and New York, where we see these higher rates that are pretty difficult. Yeah. Charlie, I'm sorry about the screen flash. I assure you it will be fixed by tomorrow, because I will I will switch computers is what I will do. Tesla may sell them cheaper to first customers. Yes. For non-disclosure agreement for maintenance so Tesla can work out the kinks. I don't think they'll need the NDA. They've had these out in testing for over a year. I think they're ready to roll. But I do think there's a non-zero chance that they will sell them to some of their customers at the 180 price because they said they would. Yeah, even a range of 100 miles would be groundbreaking. Lots of semis are for local deliveries and never leave town. And that's why the Freightliner, the eCascadia, those are going to work. Looks like Tesla is the only aerodynamic design. Wonder why others not aerodynamic, and why the faux grills on the others. Because they're using the same parts that they use for their other trucks. It's not purpose built. And I don't think they've wrapped their head around how big of a deal drag is. Semi-platooning alone, not fully autonomous, will be a game changer. The world changes overnight. Everything gets cheaper. I agree. Hello, Daniel. Good to see you. Hello, VW guy. Added VW guy says added weight definitely has range toll. Less than you think. It's almost entirely about aero drag. You can look at Kyle from Out of Spec Motoring, who does various range tests when he's towing. And the sleeker the form factor, the more difference it makes. He's hauled empty cargo and full cargo. And it's the shape of the cargo that makes the difference, not the weight of it. Almost entirely. And don't forget, you get a lot of it back on regen anyhow. Don't you think it's kind of rude to have Nikola, the closest competition, at the very end? Not to mention, Tesla doesn't even exist. So if you're talking about this chart, this chart, I didn't make it. This was made by Visual Capitalist. So, and it was made in, well, it's very current. So is it rude? Sure, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I put them at the top of my list, so I don't know. They got top billing from me, baby. I'll even leave it up. Volumes will be too low. Cannot crush the competition as they will sell. I assume that is not enough. Economies of scale will make a big difference. Even the big guys don't really have what you and I might consider an assembly line when it comes to manufacturing. It doesn't look like a Toyota factory in a Kenworth shop. It's still, there is a line, but it's not the same. So it'll be interesting to see if anyone gets up to a volume that makes it make sense to burn the whole line all day at top speed, where everyone's job is one nut or one little thing, instead of your job is this hour of projects, because it makes things a lot quicker. Digital Blade Canada says Visual Capitalist has some good insights. I'm not familiar with Visual Capitalist. I am familiar with FreightWaves. They're quite good. They're quite good when it comes to all things shipping. Getting rid of the side mirrors, how much drag would that save? I hope we get to find out the answer to that very soon. Oh, David Huber is quite optimistic to see the future of the semi. Every bot has one nut, one job, one nut, or one screw. Yeah, that'd be interesting. That'd be interesting to see. I think a bot could handle, 5 or 6, or maybe more than one. But let's see if there's anything else absolutely burning that we need to get in. Oh, who is this? Says that innuendo is obscene. Oh, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't speak British English. John Yent says, semi-myths? As Buffy said, you were myth-taken. Yeah, I made a a Buffy joke in the title, in the description. From Once More with Feeling, the best episode. Was that a max weight loaded trailer range? Could be a good time for launch if it lives up to its range claims. I know PACCAR is pushing hard and has Peterbilt and Kenworth customers on their side. Yeah, that's fully loaded. That's 82,000 pounds. EV semis get an extra 2,000 pound allowance on their gross vehicle weight for some reason. So yeah, that's at fully loaded weight. And unlike a semi, which can have thousands of pounds of fuel cutting into their gross vehicle weight, your loaded weight is your loaded weight with a Tesla. Some of these I'm not going to read. Who is this? Let's just keep buying the dips and get super rich in 10 years. Yeah, it's very interesting. Tesla's price to earnings ratio is now below that of Amazon, and yet people are still selling. So it's interesting to see. I'm not concerned for the long term. All of this is just loading the spring, getting ready for the next jump. Lots of trucking work, from vegetables to liquid gas, involves on and offloading that no one wants to do. Ideal for optimists. That's a good point. The other big thing is these trucks don't idle. When you're stuck in traffic, when you're stuck at a dock, you're not burning fuel. You can still have the heat on. You can still have the radio on. You'll use a little bit of juice, but you won't be burning 0.8 gallons of diesel per hour, which is expensive. $3-4 an hour in fuel? That's expensive. Semis aren't usually max weighted. They could add batteries to the trailer to extend range. I don't think they'll add batteries to the trailer. I think that gets needlessly complicated and fiddly. But for specific applications, it absolutely could. So let's go ahead and wind it down there. Again, thank you to my patrons. I appreciate that. Thank you to my family for putting up with me. I appreciate that. And I know they're not watching, but I love them anyway. I'll still say it. So what did I miss or misunderstand? Leave me all your thoughts in them comments below. And yeah, if you're at a dock, you can probably plug into an outlet to keep the SAC running. They don't have to, but they could. Yeah, all true, all true. I don't have an opinion of Hyliion. I will look into it and let you know, JJ. So, thanks for hanging out. Stay tuned, stay juicy, and I can't wait to hear from you clever robots on the less